where you wanted to go with your life?
Probably the hardest decision for me because, again, I was 18 years old at the time, living in Gibraltar, and there was a big debate of just not going to uni and fully committing myself to football, or get a degree and have something to fall back on, because football doesn't last forever. It's a short kind of career, and I thought it was only logical to get a degree where I can fall back on when I finish football. So it was always a risk of falling out of that kind of picture of the national side if I go to uni, because I'm committing more to studies and football. And that's exactly
so were you born and raised in Gibraltar?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you lived there till you moved to uni?
No, well, I lived there until I was about 7 or 8, and then we moved to England actually for 2 years at uni. So.
And you moved back on your own this time, or
yeah, completely.
Okay, cool. So when did football start? Obviously, you're quite decent, so you started quite early.
Yeah, as soon as I could kick a ball, really, about 4 or 5. I remember my dad telling me a story about this. We would live in this kind of estate, and with a football pitch downstairs. Yeah. And my dad, my brother, and myself went downstairs, and we would all kick the ball in the goal. But one day I just decided, shoot the ball at me, and just kicked off from there.
Started from there, yeah. And you never went back outfield after that. You just liked getting hit by the ball
all the time.
Yeah. So when did so you started playing quite early on? When did it get not serious, but when did you start playing properly, for teams and?
I would say when I moved to the UK when I was younger, because we were just playing for a team called Highbury in Wiltshire, and actually got scouted for Bristol Rovers, and they asked me to go to Denmark with them for a few months, but we had to go back to Gib because my dad's basically finished the course for the army. But yeah, that's when we realised that I was actually half decent at football, and then went back to Gibraltar and played at the best team in Gib, really.
Is that you went in the youth setup, or how old were you?
I was about 11 when I came back to Gib, and played for Lincoln Red Imps in Gibraltar. And just basically went through the whole youth system with them. Okay,
and then you got into the first team? You played for the first team?
I got into the first team when I was 17 years old, and I was second keeper to the Gibraltar #1 actually. So it was me and him there. And I was really committed in training all the time, and I actually got first pick over him for a few games. And that's when I got recognised and got called for the national squad.
Okay, cool. So how did that start then? How did the national team start? Because obviously you've clearly impressed if you're getting in the first team at 17. What's the process like? Did they turn up to the games, or how does it work?
So when I was 15, I actually got called up for the national team for the first time. But this was before we were in UEFA. So we had friendlies at the time against teams like Portsmouth and all this kind of stuff. So I actually made the youngest ever player for Gibraltar to play. And I was against Portsmouth for the last 2 minutes or 3 minutes. I got subbed on when I was 15 years old. So yeah, they obviously kept an eye on me when I was playing for Lincoln, watched my matches when I was young. And random day, one day, they just called me and surprised me.
How exciting was it then when you first realised?
Yeah, it was a massive confidence boost. I didn't expect that at all. I just literally was playing football and not thinking about that kind of stuff, and I randomly got a call from them. So
yeah, what about your family? Were they because obviously I assume they're from Gibraltar originally as well. Were they quite proud of you?
Yeah, they were really proud.
You were representing them.
Yeah, definitely.
That's pretty cool. So you played against Portsmouth. Have you played against any sort of what's the biggest game you played in for the national side?
Well, when I was with under-19s before I came to uni, I was the first keeper for under-19s Gibraltar, and we played against quite a few teams. We played against Switzerland under-19s, Hungary, where we drew 2-2 under-19s, Ireland under-19s, Bulgaria. Goes on for a while.
Crazy. Any big names you played against?
Yeah, we played against Croatia, or Czech Republic, Croatia. I think it was Croatia. They had this centre back in under-19s that called Halilovic, signed for Roma, signed for Barcelona that same month for £6 million.
Is it the blonde guy?
Yeah.
Totally. He's a really good player.
Yeah, played against him.
Is that the biggest name you played against, you think?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
That's pretty cool. So you're in Gibraltar and you sort of getting into you're getting into the national side, you're in the national setup. How then did you deal with that? Because obviously you get to an age where you need to sort of either go to uni or you need to get a job. What was the process like trying to figure out where you wanted to go with your life?
Probably the hardest decision for me because, again, I was 18 years old at the time, living in Gibraltar, and there was a big debate of just not going to uni and fully committing myself to football, or get a degree and have something to fall back on, because football doesn't last forever. It's a short kind of career. and I thought it was only logical to get a degree where I can fall back on when I finish football. So it was always a risk of falling out of that kind of picture of the national side if I go to uni, because I'm committing more to studies and football, and that's exactly what happened.
How does that process work? Being sort of you technically classed as an international student, so how does the whole process work? Applying for uni and sort of did you come over for open days or?
No, obviously it's quite expensive just to come over here for open days and stuff. So I applied to unis. I got here through clearing though, and it was just a risk really, just being accepted here and coming this way with no friends, no family, so just starting from scratch basically on my own. So.
Do you think it's hard for like people back home? Well, your mum and your dad especially, like seeing you sort of, because it is quite a big risk moving halfway across the world. Sorry, were they sort of nervous for you or excited or?
Yeah, well, I've always been like a family boy, a mummy's boy, and I haven't really left since uni. But it was always a big risk, and everyone expected me to come back to Gib during the first term. But I settled in well. I made really good friends, so they've made me comfortable here.
That's really cool. So moving on. So obviously is your third year now?
Third year.
So how did you even anticipate playing for the uni team when you first got here? What was it?
So this is going back to first year now.
Yeah.
Literally the first 2 weeks of uni. I went to the Lake District for my course. We had to be there for a few days. And Chris Hargreaves was a lecturer here. And I met him for the first time, and he was talking about the uni football, and I basically said, I play a bit of football. And he asked me what level, and I just basically explained my story, and he asked me to come down to play for the uni team. And yeah, just went from there, to be honest.
So do you play for anyone else, or is it just the uni team in England? I'm
playing for a team called Salts FC in Bradford, but I'm playing with a few friends there just because it's my last year here with in uni, so just want to play a bit of, like, for fun with my friends there.
And do the FA keep an eye on, like, the setup keep an eye on?
No, they don't consider that for Gib. They don't consider that a good standard at all. They would rather mean at least a conference side, but
yeah. And do you think you could play for a conference side?
Definitely.
You just want to have a bit of fun in your last year.
Exactly,
okay.
Because when I go back home, they'll be again fully committed to football.
Yeah. So you still they realise that you're playing at quite a low level, but do they still consider you because they know how good you are?
Not for the first team. When I was in first year, I was playing with Thackley, and Thackley's a decent side, but they didn't consider that a good enough level. But they still picked me for a few games anyway. But after that, they basically said I have to basically play at a better level. If not, they're not going to pick me. That was for the first team. But I told them that to combine the football, because if I'd have played at a better level, I'd have to obviously train a lot more. And combining the football with the studies was too much. And I told them my priority is to get a degree first. So I was committed to the studies and obviously play football on the side, but wouldn't commit myself too much to football.
Yeah, so you're still in the setup, you're just not in the first team. You're playing for the under-21.
I'm 21 at the moment, yeah.
Are you the first choice?
I was the first choice, but then I fractured my clavicle about last game of the season, and the second keeper on 21s has been doing really well, to be fair. He hasn't done anything bad, and he's still there now, so just waiting for my chance.
I'm interested as what's the level of football like? Obviously it's hard to sort of measure it, but comparing like uni football to football in the Gibraltar national the league, like what's it like?
I've got friends here in the uni team that always like basically joke about it, saying that they could easily walk into the national squad of Gibraltar, and I have a lot of people saying that it's not just because they see the results, it's not a very good standard in Gib, but it is actually surprisingly really good standard, and we have got a really good team, national team. But obviously we're playing against professionals, playing against Belgium, all this kind of stuff in Gibraltar, so yeah, it's a good standard. It's a really good standard.
Comparing that to the standard here, were you quite surprised? So you're playing for Salts. It's still, I assume it's still quite a decent level, but what's the difference there between sort of low level English and the highest?
It's a different kind of football. It's more, it's more technical back home in Gib, but here it's more just hoofing up the ball to strike a fast or big striker, and a bit more challenging in that sense.
Yeah, it's different. It's different. What's next then? What's the plan?
Well, obviously try and get my degree with a good grade. Finish uni football in the high. Obviously try and get promoted, hopefully, and then go back home, do PGC there, and carry on playing for a local team there. I'm trying to get back into the national squad.
You think you can get back in?
Take me a while, maybe a season or two, but I have to lose a bit of weight again, and I'll be back in.
Nah, you'll lose weight in that heat, mate. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't think I have any more questions. That's it. Thanks very much. Yeah.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate that.
No problem.